rises for the win from 29 from the right hash. Koo's kick is good. Here is Durant for the win. James for the win. It's gone. LeBron James at the buzzer.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to For the Win Vodcast. We got Wilson, we got Cory. I am Antoine. Thank you guys for joining us today. And we have a very special episode for you guys today, man. We're going to learn about what's going on in the MLB, Major League Baseball, the Lockout.
Talk to us, man. What's going on? Well, why is the beginning of the major season about to be, delayed or whatever?
Let me first say, this is one of my passions. Baseball is my passion. So I'm really kind of heated about what's transpiring in the MLB right now. So for those of you who don't know what's going on, baseball is currently, the MLB is currently in a lockout. And what that means is the owners have placed a work stoppage for all of their players, right? So no transaction can happen, no practice, no games, whatever the case may be, can happen right now. And this all started back in December, right? We're coming off of a great World Series. My Atlanta Braves. I'm going to go ahead and open this back up.
Sir.
I knew he was going to find a way to get it back.
Y'all see that championship ring right there. So we're on the heels of the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series in October. Well, really November. Yeah. And the CBA ended in December, right? So the owners and Rob Manfred, who is the commissioner of Major League Baseball, they thought it was a great idea to lock out the players. And they thought this power move was going to jumpstart negotiations, right? They thought this was a move that they could do to help, get negotiations started so they can agree to a CBA.
So they locked them out as soon as the old CBA expired. Before negotiations.
Basically.
Okay,
right?
So they tried to strong arm them. Okay.
Right, they tried to strong arm them.
Interesting.
Right? Now, you would think that would immediately start negotiations, right? That didn't happen. So now we're about
petty
over 4 weeks, over a month out, and that's when the owners proposed their first agreement, right? The Players Association, they don't agree to it, right? You never take the first deal, obviously, anyways. So now we move on. Later on in January, they continue to meet. The union continue to reject every proposal that the MLB offers, right? So now, February 3rd, the MLB tries to bring in federal mediators, right? And this is a way to help negotiations progress, right? You bring in a third party to help both parties come to a resolution.
Compromise.
Right. The players reject that completely. Like they're like, no, we don't want a third party. We want to, me and you, we want to handle this. We want to keep the third party out of it, right?
I got a question. Because weren't they having issues agreeing with when COVID first started? Weren't they having issues agreeing with what the season length was going to be like? That season almost didn't happen. I think they agreed on 65, 66 games. What happened there? And is there just a history recently of poor, relationships and negotiations in general with the players and the owners? Like,
and
is it the commissioner's fault? Like, what's going on? Because I've been hearing about this for years now.
Well, I'm gonna get to the commissioner and what he's at fault for a little bit later. So let me just kind of get through the rest of the timeline and we can get into those questions, right? So like I said, February 3rd, they try the mediator, they reject that, right? So now they move to Florida, right? Everybody comes to Florida at one of the spring training facilities, and they meet for numerous days in person to actually try to come up with a CBA agreement. Every day, it seems like we're working towards something, right? Up until maybe about the fifth day, they only had like a 15-minute meeting, which is rare, and it's really just insane. Like you come ready to work, and you only have a 15-minute meeting. that's not a good thing. So regardless, then MLB proposes this quote unquote unofficial deadline of February 28th, right? February 28th, if we don't have an agreement done, we're going to have to start canceling games and postponing games, right? So February 28th comes, now we're actually talking. Like, they spent numerous hours bargaining. It was reported that they spent up to about 16 hours that day, right? It was like up until 2:00 in the morning. And so the MLB was
That's procrastination, by the way.
Yeah, it is. And so the MLB was like, okay, since we're actually, negotiating now, let's officially push this back to March 1st, right? So now March 1st by 5:00 Eastern Standard Time, that is our last offer, right? We're going to give you our best offer. And if you guys do not agree on it, this lockout will continue and we're going to cancel games. What happened?
Yep.
March 1st for around 4, I think it was like 4:30, I got that notification. Players Association unanimously rejected it.
Yep.
So now here we are. The first 2 series of the regular season is canceled. Who knows if we'll actually get those games completed on the back end, if those players will even get paid for those games. It's a lot of, things still up in the air. So I think we're not going to have baseball for a minute. I'd be surprised if we have baseball.
Thinking like 1994 type thing, or
no, we will have a baseball season. Okay. What it'll look like is the biggest question. And like I said, I think I'd be surprised if we had baseball by May 1st.
Ooh.
Which the season was originally supposed to start March 31st, April 1st.
That's a month out.
Right.
So, so if we get to, a couple of details, I won't get into like the real hardcore contract stuff just for the sake of, understanding purposes. One of the biggest things that they're trying to agree on is this competitive balance tax, right? And what that is for those of you that watch the NBA and keep up with the NBA, it's kind of like a luxury tax,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So basically what it is there's this threshold that you can spend, right? You can spend up until this threshold. And anything over that threshold, you'll get taxed for every dollar, right? So like the first time you do it is like 20%. Then the second year you do it is like 30%. And the third year you do it is like 50%, right? That's
like
why you
super soft salary cap.
Yeah, right.
I think this is prejudice against my Yankees, by the way, but go ahead.
So that's one of the biggest things that they're discussing right now. Like the players, they want this collective, the competitive balance tax to raise up to like 238, right? 238 million, and the MLB wants it just at 220. You can see that's an $18 million difference right there. So that's one of the biggest things that they were talking about. Another big thing is just the pre-arbitration bonus of $30 million.
Well, I got a question about the player balance, the balance tax. So the players want more, so it allows them to get more salary. I would understand,
right?
But wouldn't as a team, aren't you incentivized to also want it to be more so you can spend more and not get taxed?
Well, as an owner, as a businessman, I want to try to spend less money, but still get the same rate of return.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Okay. And it's really, it's not the teams at the top. It's not the big market teams.
I was just about to say, like, if George Steinbrenner was alive, I feel like he would.
Right.
I want to spend more and not get taxed.
It's not the teams that have the money. It's the smaller market teams that are holding this up.
Makes sense.
They want these teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees to stop spending so I can be competitive still, right? So that's one of the major hold up is the smaller market teams.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Yeah. So one of the things that they did agree on is, I saw this I think it was like around December, January, was the universal DH, right? For the longest, we've had a DH only in the American League and not the National League. So now they have agreed on that, and that's surprising that they were able to get that passed without the CBA. So we will have a universal DH, which I think from a fan perspective is going to be exciting, right? Now you don't have to watch pitchers hit. Now, the traditionalist in me, I love to see that, right? It brings out more strategy. But I understand, in times we
felt
need
like an automatic out a lot. Sometimes.
Well, I mean, depending on which team you're talking about,
yeah.
right? I think for the Atlanta Braves, who just won the World Series, we have some pretty good, decent pitchers that can hit the ball, right? A trivia question that will more than likely be brought up a lot in the future now that we have a universal DH is what was the last pitcher to win the Silver Slugger Award? I'll give you a hint. He plays for the Atlanta Braves. His name is Max Fried, right? And we saw Max Fried hit the ball a lot this season. I mean, they brought him into a pitch hit situation with the game on the line, and he hit a game-winning hit, right? So, but yeah, that's one of the other things. And another thing that they were discussing was
knowledge is power.
Hey, man.
Right. Another thing that they were discussing was the number of playoff teams, right? So they had 14 on the board. They end up dropping it down to 12. I think 14 is a stretch. Now we're getting into basketball, like where half the league makes the playoffs, and
over half the league in baseball. I mean, in basketball.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of that.
Cash grab. That's all it is.
Yeah, but it just you already play 162 games, so now you're dampening the value of each game when you add more teams to the playoffs, right? So now a team that maybe has won 80 games, that's around 500. Now they can still make the playoffs, right? So I'm not a fan of 14, maybe 12, and I even still think 12 is kind of pushing it, but whatever. I get the money behind it, the fan interest behind it. It creates more revenue. It creates more competitive playoff games. So I'm okay with it. So that's some of the biggest things that they were talking about in the CBA agreement. And so as of today, we don't have baseball, and who knows when we will see baseball. They said that they'll start back talks on Thursday to see if they can come to an agreement, but it doesn't seem like this is something that will be agreed upon anytime soon.
So who do you think will bend more in negotiations, the players or the owners? And what will it be? Will it be just the competitive balance tax, or do you think something else will be brought to the table to help compromise? What do you?
I think the players will end up bending, and that's usually the case. That's normally the case. And the reason I say that is because, more than half the league is not like top end dollar players.
Yeah.
Right. So some of these guys are making minimum salary, and they're going to lose out on every single game that they're not playing. Right. So they can't provide for their families. So I think the players are going to be the ones that end up having to sacrifice the most. And another point is the service time. And I know you guys may not understand that part, but what that because it has to deal with the arbitration, right? With service time. And so once you get into the MLB, right, they have this thing called service time. So you accrue service time based on the number of days that you play in the MLB, right? And so to be eligible for arbitration, you have to have at least 3 years of service time. And most players, when they go through their process of service time, they want to be able to reach that being eligible for arbitration.
Sounds like tenure for college professors.
Yeah. So you want to make sure that you get that service time in. So the more games that are taken off this season, that hinders the players from meeting their 3-year service time to be eligible for arbitration. And that was one of the biggest things in the CBA was the arbitration, deciding on if we should drop it down a year from 3 to 2 to make, more players eligible and stuff like that. So I think the players are going to be the one that bend their back, and eventually we'll have baseball.
The players always have more to lose.
Yeah.
So, you know, the billionaire owners, they have other business ventures and all that. So as they're losing money, they're losing off of $1 billion, top versus where you got, like you said, players on the low end. What's the minimum salary in baseball right now?
It's about 600, 700.
Yeah. Which is a lot for us, but
right.
Imagine you just got in the league and your first year you was splurging.
Yeah.
And now you're not working.
And you got to think about the lifespan too, like the work span. Like a lot of these players, can only play about 3-4 years.
True.
Right? Where,
career.
I go to work every day. I can work until I'm 50, 60 years old.
Right.
But these players can only work for a short amount of time. So they have to maximize their earning potential, during that time. And I mean, just take it a step further, it's not just the players that are gonna hurt from this, right? It's the fans that are gonna hurt from this. Like, I'm a true baseball fan. Like, I look forward to spring training. I look forward to the beginning of the season. Like, I look forward to going to the Braves game to going to the Braves game to see them, hang that pennant up, see them get their rings just like I got my ring, right?
You got what?
But no, not even, just the fans. I mean, you got to think about like the grounds crew, right? Yeah. The people that work in the stadium, the concessions, the hotels around the stadiums, the restaurants. Like, it's a lot of people that are going to be affected from this.
Their economic impact.
Yeah, the economic impact is going to be massive. And who's to blame?
Money.
Right now, a lot of the players are blaming Rob Manfred, the commissioner, because he is the face, obviously. But I mean, this comes down to greed with the owners. It's not just Rob Manfred. I've had problems with the way Rob Manfred does a lot of things. I mean, even if you watch the interview that he had yesterday after that whole breaking news came out, I mean, he was laughing.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a laughing matter, right? I mean, he's had these instances where he doesn't look competent enough to be a commissioner. I mean, we're talking about a guy that deemed the World Series trophy a piece of metal, right? When we were talking about the cheating scandal with the Astros, like, he just called it a piece of metal. How do you diminish the greatest award in your sport?
What's his background? Like, does he have a background in baseball? Or
I'm pretty sure he does. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, because sometimes you'll see that they, sometimes people in these front offices, they learn the sport,
right?
But their background is really in business.
Right,
so
yeah.
It almost sounds like he doesn't understand. He doesn't have a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer. He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer?
He's a lawyer.
Yeah. So that happens a lot. Like,
yeah.
These front office people are lawyers or they're businessmen, and they learn the craft, but like, is he a baseball fan? You know what I'm saying? Or is he
I mean, because even just from the standpoint, because here's one of the things that I can blame Rob Manfred for. You impose the lockout and then wait over a month to give your first proposal. And now, when we introduced this unofficial deadline of February 28th, March 1st, now you want to wait to the last days before that deadline to actually really start negotiating. Right. That's so crazy to me. You had basically 3 months to really negotiate this and really have progress, and you wait to the wee hours of your unofficial deadline. Yes, Rob Manfred is this is on him because he is the face of the league. He is the commissioner, but this is on the owners as well. We'll see what happens, man.
There it is. The last lockout I can remember was 2011 with the NBA.
That's why I asked for the time frame, because the NBA didn't start up till Christmas.
Yeah, December 25th. Yeah.
And I think, just from the other sports standpoint, I think they can look at this and, for the future when it's time for their CBAs to be up and be like, we don't want to operate like this. We don't want to end up like baseball, because this is really bad. Like, this looks really bad.
I think the NBA's next CBA, I don't think there's going to be a lockout, but I think negotiations are going to be a lot more contentious than they've been in the past. I know Adam Silver is a players commissioner, but all this stuff going on with people, Ben Simmons sitting out, I'm not playing. Harden is forced his way off of 2 teams in 2 years.
Yeah.
These owners are not about to go for that. I don't know what the solution is, because, contracts used to be too long. There were 7 years, 8 years. Now you made it shorter.
Yeah. So the owners pushed back against guaranteed contracts with the 2011 lockout. That's kind of what that was about. So, yeah, with the NBA, I feel like the players might have a little bit too much.
Yeah,
too much power.
Yeah, and I'm a player guy.
Yeah, me too. But it's like
they pushing it, man.
Like pushing it.
everybody blames LeBron or whatever, but like LeBron has always played to the end of his contract and then chosen where he wants to go. Yeah, he moves pieces around. Like he flex, but like, and I really don't mind when a player demands a trade with 1 year on their contract, where they're saying, get something for me because I'm about to leave anyways.
Right.
But this whole, like, I'm in my second year of 5 years and I want to force my way out. And
just because
like,
I'm not happy.
I'm not happy.
Right.
Like,
That's it.
Like, you need to get better.
Yeah.
Like, so now it's ridiculous because we're starting to hear with younger players. You know, Zion Williamson. You play 85 games in 3 years.
You have no, like,
you know, like,
you have no right to say that.
Donovan Mitchell, he's in year 2 of 5. It's like, well, he's about to leave. Like, but you signed a max contract.
Right.
Like, so in the NBA, players have probably a little bit too much power. I think in NFL, they don't have enough.
Yeah.
Where would you put the MLB in that?
MLB, I think they don't. I think the players, same here. They don't have enough power. Yeah. And that's why we're in the situation that we are now. They don't have enough power. And I mean, because, the pay difference from the top end players from the bottom end players is a huge gap. And not a lot of players get paid what they're actually worth because, the teams have control over these players for about 6 years before they can even reach true free agency.
Does baseball have like a mid-level exception? Do they have a limit on how much you can get paid based by year, kind of like the NBA, or
it's really just based off performance.
You just negotiate.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why you have $30 million a year and $600,000.
Yeah.
Poor guys. Poor guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the For the Win Vodcast.
Make sure you follow us on IG at For the Win Vodcast, on YouTube at For the Win, on Apple Music, on Spotify. We are everywhere.
For the win. And we out.
Peace.
Yes, sir.